Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
I was supposed to take care of the taxes part, how to set up taxes and everything. I will do that today. I was actually showing you the subsidiary structure, how a subsidiary is created. We have created a test subsidiary. Let's get rid of that test subsidiary. We don't need that anymore. So you go to edit training test. Let's get rid of this subsidiary. There are no transactions on the subsidiary, so you will be able to delete it. If there are any transactions listed, then you cannot delete a subsidiary which is created. Any transaction. For that matter, if you have, let us say you have a purchase order, a sales order or a work order related to the subsidiary or any vendor is created and listed under the subsidiary. Even then, you will not be able to delete any subsidiary. I was also showing you the three-way bill match. So I have shown you the three-way bill match on the subsidiary and the vendor. Likewise, you can define your three-way bill match on your items as well. So if you go into the inventory item, go to your purchasing inventory, and if you scroll down, you'll see this. There is a three-way bill match tolerances that you can set up at the item level as well. Now, how does this work? So, if you have defined it at the subsidiary level, the three-way bill match. If you have defined it at the subsidiary level, this is the highest level of your setting of the tolerances. So, if you set up at the subsidiary level, no matter which vendor you're dealing with under that subsidiary, no matter what item you're selecting for a vendor of that subsidiary, the three-way bill match automatically triggers if there is a difference between the purchase order item receipt and the vendor bill. So just in case, if you define it at the subsidiary level, now if you define it at the vendor level, the three-way bill match at the vendor level, you have removed it from the subsidiary. You're not considering the subsidiary, but you are defining the tolerances on the vendor level. When this happens, any item that you select for these vendors, you can actually, let us say you have 100 vendors under the subsidiary. However, you have defined the three-way bill match only for 50. So if you are doing the transactions with these 50 vendors only, then it triggers a three-way bill match. For the other 50 vendors, it will not. But if you define it at the subsidiary level, it triggers it for all the 100 subsidiaries, which are, all the 100 vendors which are listed under the subsidiary. So the three-way bill match can be defined at item level as well, just like the way I have shown it to you. So now let us say out of 1000 items, you have defined it for only 500 items, the three-way bill match. So in this case, irrespective of the vendor you're selecting, irrespective of the subsidiary you're selecting, if you are selecting these 500 items only, then the three-way bill match triggers. For the other 500, it won't. But if you define it at the subsidiary, all the 100 vendors it will trigger and all the 1000 items it will trigger. No matter if you have selected only 500 here and only 50 here. It doesn't matter if you are defining the tolerances at the subsidiary level, because I'll tell you what. On a vendor, the reason. I'm just giving you a reason on this. The vendor is created, and on the vendor there is a subsidiary selection that you have to do any vendor that you create. Let us go to the relationships and I go into the vendors. Now, if I have to create a vendor, then the subsidiary selection is a mandatory field. I will have to give a primary subsidiary. You see this? The primary select subsidiary has to be selected on a vendor. So I am giving the 3-way bill match on the Australia primary subsidiary. And no matter what company I'm selecting, it will obviously bring up those 3-way bill match from the Australia subsidiary, all the tolerances from the Australia subsidiary. So likewise, if you are doing the 3-way bill match tolerance at the vendor level, then it doesn't matter what subsidiary you are selecting. Even if you are not defining at the subsidiary level, if you are defining at the vendor. So if you are selecting this vendor on a purchase order, then obviously it will trigger the 3-way bill match. So on a vendor, you will select the subsidiary. On a purchase order, you will select the vendor. Hope this concept is clear. Subsidiary is linked on the vendor. A vendor is linked with the purchase order. So here what you will do when you're creating a purchase order, you won't select the subsidiary. You will just select the vendor, and based on the vendor, the subsidiary defaults because the subsidiary is already selected on the vendor. You see, this Canada, the bread supply vendor, has got Canada as the subsidiary. And that is the reason it is defaulting. You will not be able to change this. It is only Canada. You will not be able to give any other subsidiary for this particular bread supplier as a vendor. So that is the reason. If you're defining the 3-way bill match on the vendor, then it triggers from the vendors only. Likewise, if you're defined. So in a broader way, if you have 1000 items and if you want to define the 3-way bill match on all those 1000 items, you just define it at the subsidiary level. There's only one place that you define on the subsidiary, and automatically all the 1000 items will get triggered from that subsidiary. But if you do not want a 3-way bill match to be on certain vendors, like out of 500, you want it only on 250, then you define it at the vendor level and not the purchase order level. I'm sorry, at the subsidiary level. Hope that concept is clear. So we are done with the subsidiary creation. Now we will see how the departments, locations and classes are created. This is pretty straightforward. Departments. All you got to do is click on New Department. You name your department and you can have a parent company for the department as well. So what we'll do is engineering. What we do is, let us say we will go into the sales, support, professional products. Let us say products. Let's get into the products, and we are saying products is a sub-department of my engineering. I can select the parent, and when I save it automatically, what happens? This will become a I'm saying that my products is a child of engineering. So this is how you can create the departments, and see all these things, the subsidiaries, departments, warehouse, classes, and all this is the information which will be provided to you by your client. You don't have to make up anything. You don't have to think, you don't have to suggest to the clients asking them. Suggesting that it's better you have an administration department, it's better you have an HR department. You can have your IT department. No, the customer will tell you what are the different departments and what are the parents and what are the children. You just have to create them accordingly. Same is the case for locations as well. You can create your sub-locations. So if you get into one of the locations, you can, if you mark this as make inventory available, then we are making this a physical warehouse where in the products are already available. There's a subsidiary, there's a location type, and then you can select this to make this location as inventory available. So for the document number prefix, I've already specified, what is the document number prefix. So you can specify what is a document number prefix over here. And then in the auto generated numbers, you can say, I want the location as the document number prefix. So it picks up CA first and then PUR as a suffix for purchase order, maybe 1001 as the number. So it will be CAPUR 1001. That will be the document number which gets generated for your purchase order. The first document number. From there on it just continues CAPUR 1002, CAPUR 1003. So that's how it continues. And then it just keeps clocking the numbers like that. That's what about your location. Now coming to classes, same thing. You just have to click on new class and then you will define what is a new class. You just name it. And one important feature, guys, remember anything, even if it's a department or a location or a class, you can actually say that. A location can be created only for one subsidiary. However, the departments can be created for multiple subsidiaries. So you can edit this and say parent company. You can say that this is a subsidiary and then include children. If you click on this, include children, this particular department would be available for all the subsidiaries as a selection. It doesn't confine only to one subsidiary, but it's up to you. It's up to the client. They can say that, this department has to be confined only to the Australian subsidiary and do not include children. You can do that as well. You can save it and say that this is available. Only for this you can remove subsidiary because this record is used on a transaction. You see this is already used on a transaction. So that is the reason you cannot remove it from United States West is what it's saying. So what I can do is probably I can scroll down and say this is confined only to the United States West. So it will. It is confined only to the one United States West subsidiary. However, since you already have a transaction on that, what you can do, you can include children and say that it is available for the other subsidiaries as well. Whenever you're doing the transactions with the vendors which have other subsidiaries on them, then obviously you will be able to select the other subsidiaries as well. Likewise, the same holds good for classes as well. So you can create this is a class that I'm creating and I select class A as one of my parents and then I'm including the children along with my parents. Subsidiary. So once I say class is inactive, there is an option for class inactive as well. So this is what I have created now. And for any transaction that you do on NetSuite, guys, remember there will be an internal ID that gets generated. Any transaction that you are doing, if you're creating a purchase order, a sales order, a transaction on the work order, a class, department, location, subsidiary journal entry, Whatever you're creating on NetSuite, that will generate an internal ID automatically. So whatever is the next internal ID, that gets picked up. So if I show inactive, there are no inactive locations as of now, but I can make this inactive. I can click on this submit and that's inactive now. And if I remove this show inactive, that will go. It will not show up because that is inactive. Any questions on this? Yes. Tell me. So this internal ID is just created by the NetSuite. We can't do any editing. No, you cannot. Good question. So you cannot do anything with the internal IDs. However, when you are creating the locations, departments or classes through a CSV import, there is something called as CSV import. I will show you what that is a little later on. So let us say if you have 4 or 5 classes, you will create manually clicking on new class, new class, new class. But if they have 50 classes, what will you do? You cannot waste your time by clicking on new class for those 50 locations and keep on adding. In that case, there is something called as CSV import. So I'll discuss this. Once I'm done with the master data, we will get into the importing of multiple records, how this is done. I will take a session on that a little later on, but for now just understand that you can create external IDs through this CSV imports. Just like the way you have the internal ID, you also can have an external ID as well. And that external ID can be created only when you create the master data or any data migration. When you're doing the data migration through a CSV import, there is an external ID field that can be created. Now, where can you find that external ID? So on every screen. If you go into the list, this is a list, guys. You can click on this list and it will take you back to the list here. On every screen, if you see, I can go back to the list again. There is something called as customized view. So what you can do is you can click on this customized view. You might ask me that when you go inside a location, there are so many fields that you see here, but you're not able to see that in the list over here. You are able to see the internal ID name, phone, city, state, province and country only. So if you want to see more fields and if you want to delete a certain fields from here, from the list, what you can do is you click on your customized view and then you can bring up the fields over here. So here I will remove the phone. I don't need the phone. I will remove this and then I can add a role and I would say that let us say I need the external ID. This is what I was looking for and then I would need subsidiary. I would need the subsidiary for this location. And then I would also need my make inventory available option. If it is checked or not, I have to see and then I can also pull in. There are some user fields that you can pull out as well. So what are user fields? You can click on this user fields and this will display the user fields that you have over there. What are these? You have your alternate email. You have your alternate email. The attention, the billing address and all these things are the user fields that you have within that. So you can pull those things as well. The contract contact information. You have the date created. When is this location created is what it is. So I can pull out these fields and then I can save this view. I have the make inventory available, which is yes, yes and no for only one location that I can see as 2, because this is not a physical warehouse. And that's the reason they have marked it as no. So this particular location will not be available when you are actually creating a purchase order, because make inventory available is set to no. What is the date created and who created? This can also be pulled out, so let us see that. Result. And by the way, what I'm showing you now is a saved search. Now then, you had a question on the saved search, how exactly you want to do this. So this is exactly what is done as part of the saved search. And one more question, sir. With the ID, we can know it is manually created or it came from CSV file. You can do that. So internal ID is what the system creates and external ID comes from the CSV. But if I create it manually, then the external ID option will not come in. You understood that? So if you create manually internal ID exactly, who created it? Old. Last modified it by. I think that it will be a field called last modified. You see this. If you click this, it will display who has last modified it, but who created it is what we need. Hold. Let us see if that is available. Date created is there. User is not there. But I think there will be an option if I go into System Info Nodes. Hold on. Is there a System Info? System Modes field. So I go into System Modes field and I see set by. And add this. Now we will see who has created this location. That information will be, you see this code ready. This is the person who has set up the locations. So there's one more thing here. Why are we getting so many locations? The reason behind that is Mohan Electronics is one location and no, it cannot be a. So whatever has been modified on that Mohan Electronics, everything is being displayed over here since we have selected it as set by. Whatever the changes have been done, that is the reason it is displaying it as the system. So let's remove this. So now there are 3 tabs over here in the saved search. One is the results. The other one is available filters and the other one is search title transaction. So if you click on this available filters, so you can set up this as a filter. Maybe the name. You can show it as filter. And I'm saying that I have to show in filter region. Instead of name, let's take city. I think. So I'm saying that I have to show it as in the filter region as well. So I click on save. So what happens now? If you see this, the city is showing up as a filter. Now for me. So I can. I don't know what the city is mentioned, but I can actually specify what is my city over here. And then it just filters out the locations based on those city. Any questions on that? We'll take the name itself. So here you will have the name as a filter. Now you can filter it by that. So always you can edit view, go in, pull all the fields that you want to have. And if you click on more options, so there are more options that you can actually do that as well. So if you scroll down, this is the results tab and this is the criteria. If you click on criteria, you can add a filter again. Let's say A by. So starts with C. I have set up a filter already and I'm saying that I want to start it by C. So if you preview this now, only the locations with C will be available. The other locations will not be there. So that's a filter that we have already created. So if you see, only the location starting with AL will be available. So likewise, you can define what your criteria is. So you can define what is your criteria and you can filter out the options. You can set up what is the criteria like date. You can also specify date after created. You know after this date how many locations have been created, so on and so forth. All these things can be done. Now the other option is if you click available as reminders. So I have set it up as available for reminders. I'm showing this in the menu and also I'm making it available as dashboard view also. So what happens when you do that? You save this. So when you go back to your reminders, hold on. When you click on the dashboard, there's something called as reminders. So here, if you want to set up reminders, you will have the saved search available as one of the criteria that you can set up. Where is that? Where is that? What was our saved search option? Actually, you see this. So I can select this, remove all the others and then save. So when I do that, you know there are 11. Now see, this is a location saved search that we have created, but you can create a purchase order saved search. You can create a sales order saved search and then you can define how many number of open purchase orders are there. How many number of open vendor bills are there. So all these things can be done. So you can set it up. You can set up this particular save search as a reminder for you and you can click on that. So why was it available as a reminder? Because I have selected on the save search. I've selected it as show. I mean make it available for reminders. That is the reason it's available over there. The other option that we have selected is, if you remember, showing the menu. So if you go to reports, save searches. You click on that. It will take you back to the same again. I mean that is the saved search that we are making it available. And also as a dashboard view. Also, we made it available wherever you want to make it as available in the personalized option. You will have the saved search available. Whenever you go to the custom records, you can pull that out as a saved search and publish on the dashboard as well. So I can go to the reports, save searches, save search and click on edit this search once again. That is one thing. So show for available for reminders we have selected. Showing menu we have selected. Available for dashboard we have selected and as a list view also be selected. So the list view also will be available. So if you go here and then search, we'll have to go into C where you have this option. You see this? It is available as a list view as well that we have created now. So these are the different options on a saved search. It is called as a saved search. Now what? What is this public? What does this public do? As long as I uncheck this public coder ID is the only owner for the saved search and I'm the only person who can view that. However, if I want to make it as public and I want the others to see as well, then I click on save, public, and then save this. So once I save it, it will be available for everybody as in the reminders, in the dashboard, in the list view, in the show menu. It will be available for everybody. So you understood the criteria field, you understood the results. And by the way, you can create multiple criteria as well. It's not that you can create only one. If you go to this criteria, you can say that I want a list of locations, created date. Fields would be there. Hold on. User fields. In the user fields, I'll have the date created. Date created. I can select this and I say within from and to, so I can select my from to from March 1st. I want to know how many locations have been created till March 13th. I can do this. You can select the time as well. When to when. Within this time frame, how many transactions have been done. You can actually set this up as a criteria. That is one thing. And then you can set up another criteria saying if I want location starting with the city, starting with CA. So you can do this if it matches both these criteria. Only then it will display the fields. The transactions from that particular field over there. Now coming to your results tab. You can sort by name. You can sort by name. You can sort by phone number. You can sort it by subsidiary. All these things can be done. And then first by name, then by subsidiary. Then by city and then by subsidiary. You can define how many number of sorts that you want. Then by external ID you can sort it and you want it to be descending or ascending. You can actually pick these things. Any questions on that? And all these are your fields. You can keep adding the fields and all those fields will be displayed. Now, this is a sort of extracting the data from within NetSuite system. So, whatever data that you want based on your criteria, based on your conditions that you have defined everything, it will filter out all those options and then it will give you the results that you have. What is this run unrestricted? If you scroll down, restricted users with limited access to provide records for a specific purpose. So, if you enable this option, the edit and view columns of search results are blank without the required permissions. So, which means I can select this saying that, no matter how many number of records are there, I have to fetch all of them. That is what is your run restricted is. Now, this is the output type. Is it normal? Do you want it as a report, a grid, or a graph? You can select any one of those output types. That is one thing. Now highlighting. What is highlighting? So I can set up a condition saying that filter out 1 second. Let us say the inventory available. Make inventory available. Yes? If it is yes, I've set up a description saying that if make inventory available is true, then I can highlight this. What is a text color? You can actually specify what the text color should be. I'll say yellow. You can also specify what the background color of that should be. I'll say probably black. So now let us see what happens. You see this. You can differentiate your data based on the condition that you have set up. You can highlight the data saying that if my make inventory available is yes, I said that everything has to be in yellow or else it has to be blank. So now you just have like 10 or 11 records on your screen, which is very easy. But if you have like 1,000 records, you want to differentiate between them. One color, the customers from this particular city should be red. Customers from California should be blue. Customers from Pennsylvania should be in green. So, likewise, you can define your criteria and then it just segregates everything and pulls in this information based on the colors that you have defined over there for your color highlighting. Any questions on that? You can highlight if summary as well. You can use this tab to enter highlight criteria based on summary rows. If you have a grouping, there is something called as grouping on the results tab. So here what you can do is, let's say my summary, I group it the city. You can set up the total number of age and days you can. All these things are the functions that you can define for this. So what happens when you group based on the city? I click on this. See this. So Tariptari is the city that has. If you click on this, it will take to the 2 locations on which that particular city is listed down. Tariptari is the city. I'm grouping the city. So when you do that, let us say there are 2 locations from Tariptari, 2 locations from some other city, 2 locations from California, 2 locations from the south. All the cities would be displayed here. And when you click on the cities, it will take you to those locations inside that. That is what is your grouping functionality on the saved search would actually do. Any questions on that? Default text field editor, hide field dropdowns. We discussed about the available filters. Already highlighting, we have discussed, and then audience. So, as we discussed earlier, every organization will have its own set of audience. Audience are nothing but the roles. You have the departments, you have the subsidiaries, you have your employees. So you can restrict your saved search to these employees. I say that I want to give the same search only to Adam Pierce. Click on Control and then keep selecting your employees. You have to click on Control, by the way. Only then you can select multiple employees. Or you can say select all employees. It will select everything. Select all roles. If you want to have the saved search available only for certain roles, you can do that for Controller, for Chief Executive Officer, for AP and Analyst, and for a particular department, you want this to be enabled, then you can do that as well. So that is what is your audience would actually do. What happens to the roles? So here you can say that list, this form, results and dashboard and sublist, should they be available for these roles, is what is mentioned over here. After you create a saved search, do you want the sublist to be available for this role? Do you want the dashboard, the results, the list and everything should be available for these roles? Is what you can define under the roles tab that you have for the saved search. What's an email? So you are creating a dynamic saved search. What is a dynamic saved search? You are saying that any customer who is created from California anytime, even if I create it today, tomorrow day, after 10 days later, 15 days later, if there is a customer who is belonging to California city, and if that particular customer is created, then I have to send an email. The system has to automatically trigger an email to this particular person. You can select your employees. You can select employees and say that I want an email to be triggered to Darren Turner whenever there is a customer that is created from so and so city, or whenever there is a purchase order created for so and so vendor, or whenever there is a sales order created for so and so customer. In that case, I want an email to be sent out. So if you click on save with the email recipient, then obviously every time there is a customer created for that city or a vendor created, purchase order created for that vendor or a vendor created for certain subsidiary, anytime, any conditions that you can specify, whatever criteria that you have mentioned here, whatever filters that you have mentioned over here, it obviously picks up this particular filters and then it triggers an email with these results with name, city, province, country, everything as a report. It will be sent out to this particular person, Darren Turner. And you can customize the message as well. So what is the email that you have sent out to Darren Turner? Darren, maybe there is a customer created from California city. Regards admitting. So this particular email will be triggered along with the results that you have created over there. So I think I'll have to specify the email address. By the way, that's when it takes in. Name email address. I've put in the email. So I don't know why you're giving an error, but usually that is how it is done. You can specify your email address and it will be triggered from there. And then recipients from results. You can select what is the recipient field that you want from the results as well. And then you have a schedule. So if you do not want, to trigger the email on every creation, everyone who created, in that case, what you can do is you can schedule this event daily one time and you can specify what is the start time. So some of the users may not want to get emails one after the other, even if it is created separately. So what you can do is can schedule a date and time daily event, like on daily at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. whatever it is, you can specify that. And then it triggers an email only once with the entire list of transactions that happened with that criteria in that particular day. It triggers an email directly. So that is what is your saved search all about. If no results also can be enabled. Send emails according to schedule can be done. And then even if there are no results, do want to trigger an email. Maybe in that particular day, there are no transactions with the criteria. Do you still want to send an email? That is what it is. You can summarize the scheduled emails and then this is your audit trail. What exactly was done with my saved search? I have created, name, date created and everything and then I deleted something which is the filter I have created. I have deleted the system node set by option. All these things. Whatever I've done with my saved search would be visible as an audit trail. And then the execution log. How many times have you executed this particular saved search run by CodeReady? How many times? Probably from 8:59 to 9:08 am. I ran it like 10 times. Now that will be visible as well under the saved searches. So this is your basic saved search criteria, guys. I have explained everything which is related to the saved search. But there are some very advanced stuff that you can do with the saved search as well, which is actually a part of the technical training. So if you scroll down, there are some functions and formulas as well. So you can actually specify what is the function for this. Month. Let us say no month will not be an option. You can round this. Let's not go into this. Let's say date created. For date created, I can say what is the minimum, what is the maximum count of it, what is the average date. Those things can be specified. Also, some formulas can be created for certain fields. It may not be available for the date fields, numerical fields. You can create custom fields as well. By the way, so there are two numerical fields and you want a multiplication of those fields in the saved search. In that case, you will have this functionality wherein you can actually select what is the function. And then you can put in the formula. That formula would be available if we have any numerical fields. Let's see. That's cool. But you have to create a custom field for that, by the way. So any custom fields that you can create, let's say as a numeric one. In that case, the function option will be available and you can select the function formula. By the way, you can select the formula as into, multiplication, sum of it or product of it, whatever it is. You can set up the formula and then it displays the results based on the formula that you have selected. And by the way, you can provide the custom labels as well. For make inventory available, what I can say, that is I can say that this is a physical warehouse. Yes or no? So I can provide custom labels as well. I can say under the state province, what I can say that maybe counties. In some countries they are called counties, so you can specify that as county. And then subsidiaries. You can say that they are my legal entities. You can provide the custom labels this way as well, so that when I view it, the custom labels will be visible and not my actual field. You see this. Subsidiaries have been changed to legal entities. My availability make inventory available is changed as physical warehouse now. And counties, where is counties? There you go. State provinces change to counties, so you can specify your external label for your search results as well. They need not be the same standard fields which are there on your NetSpeak. And then you can have the custom label translation as well. In French what it is, that part can be actually translated as well. For the custom, whatever it is. Summary label. So if you have a group, then the summary label will be available. For that particular group, you can actually specify. I say I was actually grouping the city. Whenever you have a summary, there is a summary type. Summary, hold on. I can do this. This should be available. Actually, I don't know why is it not there. Whenever you have a summary type, then you can label the summary label also. That particular thing can be done. And one other feature is now I want the zip code to be visible on my next second tab. So you click on this, catch hold of the 6 dots that you hear, and then just drag and drop it here. Zip code will be moved there. I want my external ID to be in the last. So drag and drop it here. And then it will be moved, just like the way you move your Excel fields. So this way you can actually move all these things, and then you can see how all these things can be moved around. You can remove all, you can add multiple. So if you click on add multiple, then it will give you the option to select. I want to add address. I want to add date. I want to add these things. And then you can click on add. All these things will be added automatically. Instead of selecting each one after the other, you can click on add multiple. And what are these drill down fields? So see, for when you select an address, you can have the drill down field as city. So likewise, you can drill down those fields that you have selected in the results over here. Any questions on the saved search? The entire saved search is covered with the session. We have covered most of the stuff which usually people do and whatever criteria that you, by the way, I have shown you one saved search. So if you want to create a saved search on purchase order, you go to transactions, purchases, enter purchases, and then there is a search option here. So directly you can click on the search. It will take you to the purchase order saved search, and then you can build your fields accordingly. So transaction saved search. You can click on create saved search. When that is done, you will have the purchase orders automatically selected. You see, this type standard is purchase order already. It is selected by default. When you go from there for the saved searches, that is one way of creating your saved searches. If you want a sales order, sales search, go to transactions, sales, sales orders, and then search. So if you do this, the type will be automatically selected as sales order for you. You don't have to select the criteria separately. You see this? It's a sales order. So likewise, you can create the saved searches for everything. You know, for checks, you can create a saved search deposits. You can create a saved search transfer funds. Click on save search. It will take you. This is the easiest possible way to create your saved searches for your things. Now, if you do not want to go from here for the saved search, this is the easiest and the most widely used way of creating your saved searches. If you do not want to go from here, then you go to your reports, you go to your new search. There's something called as new search. So you click on this new search And here you will be able to select your saved search based on what you want to do. So you want a transaction saved search. What is your transaction? Your transactions are your purchase orders, sales orders, work orders. And then what else? Journal entries. All these are your transactions. Now, if you want to create a customer saved search, you can actually do this customer saved search. If you click on that, you can click on this and then it will take you to the customer saved search automatically. It will guide, the type will be customer over there once you click on the create saved search over here. It will give you the results, mostly from the customers, but then the criteria will not be defined. If you go individually, you have to select the criteria by them. But if you are doing it from here, relationships, customers, and search, if I go from here directly, then this will automatically give my criteria as a customer. All this will be the customer saved search. So these are the two ways in which you will create your saved searches. And there is a third way. What is the third way? You go to your purchases. Let's say you go to the list. I am going to the list of purchase orders. So if I want to create a saved search, I can click on this from here also. You click on the search and then it will take me to the same saved search screen. Once again, wherein I can define my criteria, results, highlighters, available filters, and everything. So these are the three ways of creating your saved searches. And finally, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.